Alright, so we're back with another painting tutorial, this time on a Death Korps of Krieg guy from the new Kill Team Octarius set. And yeah, we're just going to get straight into it. Last thing to mention before we get straight into it, this is not sponsored by Games Workshop or anything. I'm painting my friendly local game store's promo copy that they got for pre-ordering some amount of boxes. So that we can have a copy of it on launch day. So that is how I have the box early. So with that out of the way, let's get on to it. We're going to start off with Ultramarine Blue. And this is going to be the main jacket color of this Kriegsman here. So we're just going to apply this all over him. Making sure to get a thick enough coat to get the color that we need on here. I have seen several people paint the jacket with the underside being a different color, but I'm not going for that today. I'm just going to keep it simple. As always, going for battle ready on these tutorials, and in most of my life, to be honest. I just go for battle ready for my own personal stuff. But the great thing is that if I ever want to come back to something, I can just revisit it and add some more details. But for now, this will work just fine. So I'm just gonna carry on doing this color. The only thing I'm really trying to avoid is these metals here and this tube going down. The tube is less important, but everything else is going to have a non-contrast color rather on it before anything else, so we don't have to worry too much about preventing ourselves from getting the contrast on this model. This model was primed with Wraithbone spray, which is my go-to. No real difference, to be honest, between Wraithbone and Grayseer. I'm sure you could tell the difference if you put them side by side, covered with the same color. But when I paint one miniature with Grayseer and then, a month later paint a miniature with Wraithbone, I can't tell the difference. So. Alright, well that's all done. Oh, there's just a little tiny spot in here. Oh, and there's a collar still. But I'm just going to finish this last tiny bit up, make sure that we have color everywhere we need it, let that dry completely, and then I'll come back and we'll do the next step. Alright, we're back, and our blue is all dried up, and I wanted to point something out, because sometimes this will happen. If you can see right here, we have a few white specks right here, especially right there. That can happen sometimes as your contrast paint dries, and it will lose its surface tension as it dries, and so it'll sort of start to bead almost and pull together, and sometimes it will pull in such a way that it won't cover certain parts, just like these. One of two ways: you can either just fix it real quick with a little dab of the other color, or in this instance, when we put wash over this later, it'll cover that right up. But don't be alarmed if you see that on your miniatures. That will happen sometimes with contrast paint, and very easy to fix, not a problem at all. But we're going to move on to our next color now, and that's going to be Baharoth Blue, and this is going to be for his pants and his cufflinks. We're going to put a contrast paint over this afterward to get the final color, but this is a good base color for it. Just want to make sure not to get it on the dark blue. You just rub it off a little bit like I did, or let it dry and then paint over it. I don't like letting it dry on the contrast paint and then painting over it. I'm not the best at doing a second layer of contrast in a spot and making it look okay, but it can work. I'm just not very good at it. So I just wipe it off real quick and then try again. So then the cufflinks. And again, there's not really anything around these cufflinks that we're going to need contrast for, so we can be a little bit messy with this. I'm not sure what parts of the gun are going to be pure black and what are going to be metal yet, so I am going to be a little careful around that now that I say that. Just going to counteract myself immediately. Contradict myself, rather. This power claw or power fist or power hand, whatever he has here, that will be a different color. Or that will be painted with metallic, not contrast paint. So I don't have to be super careful around it. So I'm going to let this dry, and then this is not a very heavy-bodied paint, so it will require a second coat. So I'll let that dry, put our second coat on, and then we'll come back and do the next step. Alright, our Baharoth Blue is all dried up, and now we're going to move on to Space Wolves Gray. We're going to put this over the top of our cuffs and our pants to dull the color down a little bit so it's not so in-your-face blue, and to just shade it a little bit. So this is nice and simple. We don't want to get it on too thick, so we don't want to change the color of this blue. Just want to give it some nice shading. And then I think I will use this, just in case our wash later isn't strong enough, I'm going to go over these couple little bumps, or these couple little... Alright, we're back, and got a little cut off there on the last one, but all I was saying is we just put the Space Wolves Gray on this blue, not to change the color, just to shade it a little bit, and then I used a little bit of it to touch up those white spots that we had right there. So now we're moving on to our Iron Warriors, and this is going to be our armor and weapon color. We're going to go over this in some places with Black Templar, but not everywhere. So I'm going to paint this all in. It'll be on this metallic hand he's got here, the magazine he has in that hand. His helmet will be this color. Just get the underside of this claw real quick. So we're going to do the helmet. And we're doing this, even though we're going to cover it with Black Templar in a lot of places, we're doing this so that the Black Templar has a sheen to it. If you just put the Black Templar straight on there, it won't look very metallic, it'll just look black. And Alright, so we're back, and I started painting the silver on before I hit the record button. So, we're moving on now to Iron Warriors, and we're going to paint that all over the metallic parts of him. So I already did the metallic claw and finished the helmet before I realized I hadn't hit the play or record button. So we'll just continue on with this. Some of this metallic we're going to leave metallic, and some we are going to put Black Templar over. But the reason we paint this underneath it regardless is because we want there to be a metallic sheen underneath the Black Templar. We don't just want a black helmet, we want a metallic black helmet. But I'm using a relatively dark metallic color because we still want to maintain the darkness from the black. So I'll go ahead and finish this up. I'm just going to do the gun here, this little thing on the back of his pouch, or the back of his bottom of his backpack, and then the other shoulder pad, and this little bit right here. I'll let that dry, and we'll come back and we'll do the next step. Alright, we're back, and our metallic is all dried up. Now we're going to move on to Rakarth Flesh, and this is going to be the blanket roll on his bag, as well as his leg wraps, I guess you'd call them. I'm not really sure what these are, but these things down here, they're going to be this color. And we're going to go over them later with some Agrax Earthshade to give them the final color. And we're actually going to go over the blanket roll with even another color, but for right now, we just want Rakarth Flesh covering all of it. So then the blanket roll up here, you just have to make sure that there's a strap that goes around here. You want to make sure to get the part of the blanket that's underneath that strap also, or below that strap. And then we'll obviously paint the strap the same color as the backpack when we get to that, but that'll be in a future step. But I'm going to finish this up and do the other leg wrapping, make sure we have a nice solid coat of Rakarth flesh on this blanket, and then we will come back and do the next step. Alright, and we're back with that Rakarth flesh all dry. Now we're going to go on to 2 browns in one step. First we're going to use Thondia brown, and this is just going to be for the boots, and then we're going to use Mournfang brown, that's what it's called, for the backpack and straps. So I'm just gonna painting just the bottom of the boot or the shoe here, making sure not to run over onto those leg warmers or whatever they happen to be. I think they have a name. A lot of military uniforms had them at one point, and they do have a name, but I do not know what that name is. All right. So that's the shoes / boots all done. We're going to go straight into the next color here. And like I said, that's going to be Mournfang brown. This is going to be for basically everything else leather that's on him. So this backpack here, as well as all the straps that are connected to it. So that'll be this strap here and its counterpart over here. Then the straps that go over the blanket right here. And then we also are going to paint this housing in the front here for the oxygen system, I guess, in this color. We can paint the whole thing in this color, even the inside. Being careful not to get any of this on the blue of our jacket, or the silver of this right here, a little rebreather thing. And then we're also going to do the belt in this color. Again, being careful not to nick any of the blue or anything like that. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this up. Oh, also the last thing I'm going to mention is you got to grab these straps right here. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and finish this up. Let that completely dry, and then we'll come back, and we're getting close to the end of the line here, but not quite yet. We'll come back and do the next step. Alright, so we got all that brown done, and now we're going to move on to our Black Templar, and this is going to go over some of our metallic, as well as go onto the little hose in the front of his mask here, so I'm just going to put that on here first. Like that, and then it's going to go over this metallic here. And just make sure to get the other side of this hose on the front. Excellent. We're not going to put it over the mechanical claw he's got here. We are going to put it over the shoulder pads though. Basically anything that's armor is going to get this. The mechanical claw, I think, would just be the color of the metal, so we'll leave it like that. And we'll get his helmet here. And we still have to paint his mask, and we're doing that with non-contrast paints, so if we get a little bit of this black on the mask, it's no big deal. Alright, then we're going to do his glove, and as well as the little metallic plate on the top of his glove. And then we just have to see about which parts of the gun we're going to paint in this color. And I think I'm going to do this, sort of the grip here, as well as the main stock of the gun right here, or barrel housing, receiver, I guess. I don't know. The guns in the 41st millennium confuse me. And then we'll get this part right here. And then this right here, and that will be the extent of the black on the miniature. Just get the other side of this little nubbin up there. Alright, so we'll let that dry. Make sure it's nice and dry. Make sure we actually cover it all. There we go. Make sure that's nice and dry. Then we'll come back and we'll do a couple washes. Maybe we'll come back and do the face mask, actually. We'll see. We'll come back and do something. Alright, and we're back, and we are going to do the face mask. We're going to do that with Ulthuan Grey. And just a quick and easy step here, just covering up any paint that got on this earlier. A little too much water on my brush. Just wipe that off. Try again. There we go. Alright. So we're just covering up any colors that we may have gotten on our mask before. This Ulthuan Grey is almost a perfect match to the Wraithbone. It's a little more white than the Wraithbone is, but for my purposes, it'll work just fine. Alright. We'll go ahead and let that mask dry, and then we will come back and either do some more metallics or do some washes. We'll see. Alright, our Black Templar is all dry, and now we're going to do 2 steps in 1 again. And we're going to do some Stormhost Silver, as well as some Retributor Armor. Oh, actually, we're going to do a 3rd step. We're also going to do some Mephiston Red. All of these steps are tiny, so that's why we're going to do them. We're going to start with the Stormhost Silver. And that's just going to go on this skull here on his shoulder. It's also going to go on these buttons that are kind of here, there, and everywhere on him. The inside of this little pouch here on his front, that's going to be this color. Some buttons here and there. He's got a button in here. Some more buttons on the side. I'm telling you, he's got buttons everywhere. Buttons are a big deal in the Death Korps, apparently. So then these buttons, as well as these sort of buckles or whatever they are right here. I think that's everything. Oh, he's got a little loop right here on the back of his helmet. We'll do that also. So then, going on to this Retributor Armor, we're going to do several things with this. First, we're going to get this little Aquila right here. Do that in gold. And the same thing on this Aquila. And then the same thing on this one on the back. And we're also going to get this metal rack here. So get the top of that like that. And then the medals themselves will also be gold. Alright. Then, onto our last color of this step. We're going to go on to Mephiston Red. And we're going to do 2 things with this color. First will be the little needle inside this pouch. With the little, like, place where the needle goes, rather. Will be our first stop on this Mephiston Red. And then the second one, we're just going to do one of these metals. We'll do the middle one. In this color. There we go. That will work. Make sure to get the side here. Alright, that'll do. So I'm not even gonna pause. I'm a crazy person. I'm just gonna look for a color. I think I'm gonna use Genestealer Purple. That's a good color for one of the other metals. And let's see. And I think I'll do Auric Flesh. Why not? So we'll do Genestealer Purple first. And we'll just pick one of these. I think I'll do was going to do Gene Stealer Purple. Apparently my pot of Gene Stealer Purple has dried up. So I won't do Gene Stealer Purple. I'll do slightly lighter T'Challa Lilac. Must have left my Gene Stealer Purple slightly open at one point or something. I don't know. But regardless, we use T'Challa Lilac. Just get this one right here. And then we'll use some Auric Flesh. One of my favorite colors. It's a new color, but one of my favorites. And we'll get this other metal right here. Good. Alright, so that's those done. And I just realized that there's only one color left before we start adding washes. So I'm just going to go ahead and do it. Fire Dragon Bright. This is going to be for his eyes, or his eye lenses, rather. Just going to grab some of this and put it straight in there. There we go. And the other one. Excellent. Alright, so we're going to let all these colors we just did dry. Then we're going to come back, put on some washes, and then do a little bit of edge highlighting, and we'll be all done. Alright, and we're back. So, it's time for the washes now. We're going to start with Agrax Earthshade here. And we're basically going to put this on everything that isn't blue or black or silver. So, before I do this, I just like to point out, I forgot to do a couple things, and I just did them during the break. I forgot to put the Black Templar on this shoulder pad, so I did that. I also forgot to grab these two straps in here that are holding on the shoulder pads. So I put those in Mournfang Brown, and then that strap continues back here. I did that as well. So, like I said, we're going to grab our Agrax and do everything that isn't blue, black, or silver. We're going to go over with the Agrax Earthshade. Being careful not to spill over onto any bits next to these bits. If it does a little bit, it's not the end of the world. But we want those to be a colder color or colder feeling, so we shade those with a black. These we want to be a bit warmer, so we shade with brown. The one exception to the silver, blue, or black is this part in here, because we want it to be sort of one with the housing around it. I just go ahead and shade it with brown. Also, it just makes it easier, so you don't have to try to avoid that middle part while you're shading this. So, I'm going to shade the metals with this color. There we go. Oh, also the mask is going to be shaded in black, not with this brown. Get these straps here. There we go. And then all of the backpack, except for this bottom part here. And these clasps and buckles and stuff, I just shade them with the brown. Even though they are technically silver, I'm not going to try to avoid them while using this. And so I will just go ahead and do it this way. Alright, and I think that will do it for this. Yes, it will. So now we'll move on to our black shade. And for that, we of course are using Nuln Oil. So we're just going to put this over everything. And we're not going to put it on the lighter blue. We're just going to put it on the darker blue. Did I not rinse my brush off properly? What the heck? Got all sorts of brown in that still. I might have forgot to wash my brush off. It's okay. We'll just pull this back off. Not a problem. There we go. Make sure the brush is nice and dry. And we'll start in a new place just to let that dry up there, right there in front. But, again, we're going to put this shade on the darker blue coat, all the black, and all the silver. Alright, try this front part again. There we go. That's better. Make sure to get back here. And we can get the crevice between the two blues here, but we don't want to shade down onto that lighter blue. Being very careful to not let this pool too much. We just want to darken these areas without completely drowning them. Get the gun here. Make sure to get all the way around the gun. And then this bionic hand. Miniaturized power claw, whatever it happens to be. And the hose, and then the mask. We're again being careful not to let it pool too much, especially on the mask. We do want it to pool a little bit in the cheeks though, to give us that definition. And then make sure to get the blue behind the helmet here, as well as the helmet itself. And then the shoulder pad and sleeve. This bit of the blue in there. There we go. And then we just have this metallic bit back here, which sort of already got shaded with the brown, but we can add a little bit more with this black. And there we go. So that's our shading done. We could leave him here and he'd be perfectly fine, but we're going to let this completely dry. We're going to come back. We're going to do a little bit of edge highlighting with 3 different colors, and then we'll call him done. So I'll let this dry and we'll come back and do those steps. Alright, so our wash is all nice and dry, and we've just got a couple things left now. I'm going to use 4 colors, I think, and I just realized I don't have the 4th one that I need out here. It's here somewhere. That's okay. We're going to use 3 at least. We're going to think about a 4th. The 3 we're going to use for real are Hobgrot Hide, Tuskor Fur, and Stormhost Silver. We'll go ahead and start with Stormhost Silver. And as you might imagine, we're going to use this to highlight some of the silver. Just making sure I have the right brush. And I do. So we're just going to take some of this very gently, and we're just going to do a little bit of edge highlighting on some of the silver and some of the black as well to give it that extra oomph of highlight. So right along here on the edge of the shoulder pads we'll put a couple, and this can either be like scratches on the armor or the sun glinting off the armor or something like that. Either one gives us some visual interest either way. Get some right there on the brim. Other side of this crest right here. There we go. And we'll do some on the gun as well. A little bit right there. Let's see, how about right at the barrel of the gun up here? Oh, a little too much on there. That's better. And then we'll go along here and get those little spots. Get the skull there. Let's see, how about right here on this bag here? Oh, we'll do the other shoulder pad. Just along the edges there. And then up there. And then maybe the back of the helmet here. There we go. And that, let's see, let's do right here as well on the helmet. That looks good to me. So next, we're going to use some of the Hobgrot Hide. And we're just going to go over, just on the blanket roll here, just on the top, just going to add a little bit of this. There's still a bit of water on my brush, and that's intentional. Just going to kind of yellow this out a little bit. We don't want to completely change the color, but to get it away from the Rakarth flesh that we used earlier. So there we go. It's all nice and yellowed out. And now the last color we're going to use, some Tuskor Fur. Oh, and here's, I lied, not the last color, because I found the color I was looking for. A Laytok Blue, that's next. But this Tuskor Fur we're going to use to highlight the pack, all this Mournfang brown that we have. Just going to get a small amount on my brush here. And then come in and start edge highlighting. And these edge highlights can actually be a little choppy and not as smooth as you usually do necessarily because it's leather. So if it's chewed up a little bit on the edges, that actually helps the look. So I'm just going to go along these, doing little tiny stipple motions as I do the highlights. You don't need to be perfect, but and just get these straps up here. Just a couple little passes there. And then this pack in the front here. And just get a little choppy edge on there. A couple more places like that. And how about right there? And then maybe in a couple of spots on the belt. Back here. There we go. Alright, and then the last thing we're going to do is this Alatok blue. And just like we did the choppy pattern with the Tuskor fur, we're going to do the same thing here. Just on a couple of the edges here, like right along this bottom edge here. Just where it might be a little bit worn down. Like it's a little bit tattered along this back edge here. Along where that rip is. Maybe up here like that. And then maybe right around these pockets. Just some little stipples in like that. Let's see if we can get the camera to focus on that. Right in there, you can see just little tiny stipples just to help show there's a little bit of wear and tear on these parts. There we go. And that will do it for this guy. I'm not going to include the base in this video, but here's another one. Let's see if they match. I'd say they match pretty well. Yep, I'd say they match great. So, this base is one of the Sector Mechanicum bases, I think they're called, or something. It's really easy, though. I'm just going to explain it. It's not worth doing a video, and it's not worth including in this video because of the drying time. So the first thing you're going to do is get any old silver. I think I used Iron Warriors in this case. Painted the whole base in that color. Then I grabbed some Brass Scorpion, which I don't know if I have Brass Scorpion handy. Oh, I do. Brass Scorpion, and just stippled that all over. Then finally I took some Armageddon dust and put that around in between some of the metal pieces, so there's some like dust and dirt on the ground. Waited for that completely to dry, which takes a while because it's texture paint, and then put Agrax Earthshade down, painted the base around black, and called it a day. So yeah, that's how you do that base. But he's done for now. You should hopefully be seeing some pictures of him all done right now. Thank you everybody for watching. I really do appreciate it. And I will see you on the next one.